What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Hot Corner Rant. I cannot believe I didn't say, hey, yo. Welcome, my man, Shane Clunan. Shane, say what's up to the people.
What's up, people?
And we actually have a very special guest, my boy, Yuta Okazaki, probably one of the smartest baseball players I've ever been around. Yuta, say what's up to the crowd and tell us a little bit about yourself.
What's up, boys? As he said, I'm a baseball player. I'm a catcher. Been playing baseball since I don't know, 9 years old, 10 years old or so. I learned the game in Japan first. Ended up coming over to the States when I was 11, 12 years old, and played some high school ball, college ball here, and then I was fortunate enough to start a little bit of an indie ball route afterwards. I was one of those guys that was grinding out west in the Pecos League, and ended up running into Joe at one of the tryouts that I went to, and I think it was a year and a half after I originally met him that I ended up joining the Black Sox. Long story short, that's basically how I ended up with you guys, right? Years down the road within the Black Sox, we came to the Yinzer. I think it was even before Yinzer with you, Tommy, but I know Doc, I met you during the Yinzer, and then so here we are, right? So that's basically my story. That's my career.
Now, I also know you did a little bit of time, bullpen catching with the Braves in AAA, right?
Yep, I was fortunate enough to do that back in 2018. One thing just turned into another, and then I was, by the time I knew it, I was sent out to Gwinnett for the whole season.
That is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Who were some of the guys you were catching for?
Some of the notable guys that we had were, obviously the main one is Max Fried. That was one of my favorites to catch. Some guys that are still currently playing. Colby Allard, I believe, is with the Indians now. Jacob Webb, he bounced around a few different teams, but he's a reliever. Not sure where he's at now. Evan Phillips, he was a closer with the Dodgers, coming back from TJ right now, but he's still with the Dodgers. And then, a bunch of other guys. It was just a really, really cool time to be around that organization because it was right before they started that playoff run. It was actually probably the first year they started that playoff run. So you had guys like, Austin Riley's and like I said, Max Fried's that really came through the system from a young age and then ended up winning the World Series. So
And
now watching baseball is a little different now.
Wasn't Dansby Swanson also part of that crew too?
Dansby was a part of it, but he was already in the big leagues by the time I got there. The year I was there actually was the last month that Acuna spent in AAA, and then after that he made his debut and he went off from there. So
that's wild.
Oh yeah, so it was a real cool time. Like I said, I think all in all, dealing with them during the fall rehabs and instructs, and then going into spring training, and then going into the season, I got to experience what it was to be a part of the #1 farm system in all of MLB. So like I said, it was perfect timing. The staff was great. The players were great. Everybody treated me as if I was one of the players. So I couldn't have asked for a better situation out there.
That's awesome.
I'd love to hear that.
I was going to say, how was the development too? I know with the farm system and everything, there's got to be a structure, and every organization obviously does it differently.
Yeah, I think the structure is you have your head honchos, you have your head guys, whether it be pitching, hitting, catching, whatever it may be, and they come up with a philosophy for the entire organization. So all the coaches were there to give them their 2 cents, but at the end of the day, they were there to kind of implement those philosophies and give them the adjustments that they needed. The Braves at the time wasn't too crazy on doing the player development with the analytics, although it was definitely there. So there was still some organic coaching going on at the time, which was really nice to see. So yeah, I mean,
oh, he froze.
Like I said, all the know how to but But what it is at the end of the day is for the organization is what they're pushing for.
So I was gonna ask you, how do you feel about like the different what would you prefer better, the analytics or like the old school coaching, kind of like how Joe and Cole and all those guys were with us in the ends?
I think it's best of both worlds kind of a deal. Like you need to take some from both sides of things. So obviously, I think at a younger age, you probably don't need to be on the TrackMans at all times, but it would probably help to be on it sometimes. Like I've learned that as a coach, sometimes the kid doesn't realize that he just nuked the ball. So you have to show him on TrackMan after you tell him to make a certain adjustment, and you show him the results, and it becomes undeniable. So maybe the way you communicate with your players is quote unquote old school, but the way they interpret it may be new school or through some of those gamified things. So I think if you have the opportunity to use both, you should use both. It's just up to the coach to be creative enough to use it as a tool, not as like the thing.
Agreed.
No, for sure. And you know what? One thing that's kind of dope, especially I really learned a lot from players like yourself in the Black Sox, just how to carry myself as a professional. And one thing that I noticed, especially when a lot of guys leave the end, retire from Black Sox baseball, a lot of guys go into coaching. And I don't know about Shane's experience or your experience, but when I stopped playing, it was just like I stopped playing for financial purposes because I couldn't sustain it. And it was tough. It's a grind. But after I left, I was like 26, 27 years old. And I'm thinking, dude, I learned so much. I don't want to just stop what I'm doing. I need to tell these boys how to get it done so I can save a few careers. And, you learn a lot of good things. And I just remember the best thing was we were playing the Wild Things. You were all of us were there. It was before the yin started. Joe had us put our phones in this box or this plastic ass thing, and he just talked to each other, talk, and we all just started talking baseball. And I think that I tell my players all the time, my high school, my travel boys, dude, just talking baseball, it elevates your game. It may sound like dumb, where it's like, oh hey, we got to talk baseball, but trust me, talking about pitchers, talking about hitting, it's a game changer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I tell my college guys and older high school guys to go give lessons to a 9-year-old. I think if you can teach a 9-year-old how to swing properly, not so much drills. I don't care about prescribing drills to those players, but if you can teach them how to actually swing or how to throw, it's forcing you to learn how to communicate your adjustments to somebody else. So when you do that, I think your adjustments become a lot more real, and you become more conscious of those adjustments, because obviously whatever you're teaching your kids, you're not going to be making those mistakes, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
I'm too egotistical to be teaching something that I can't do. So if I feel like I can't do it, then I go work on it, right? So I think that's just the main thing is when you start coaching, you realize that there's more than one way to understand an adjustment. When you can put it into words, you start to understand it in a completely different way than just knowing how to do it.
Definitely. I find that out with my lessons a whole lot. Is I didn't need to have a ton of bullpen sessions over the winter this year to stay engaged with my own activity. I threw a bullpen here and there and saved my arm, but truthfully teaching it repetitively to my clients over and over and over again, dude, my mechanics have been locked in all year, and it's been beneficial.
Yeah.
Well, I'll even get started on our first topic too, because and I think you two are going to shine more on this one. It's the development on pitch calling and at what age, especially because youth coaches, high school coaches, even college coaches, some of them have an ego where it's like they have to call every pitch. And I remember when I was coaching JV baseball, people would give me hell. Hey, you're the head coach. How come you're not calling the pitches? And that's like, I could call the pitches, and at some point in the season, it was just me as the coach. So I was like, I can call the pitches, but now I got to set the infield. I got to set the outfield. I got to make sure this guy's high. It's like it was too much.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I think catchers should have an idea how to call the pitches, and then the time a manager or a pitching coach should step in is if they're seeing something, whether it's analytically or just something in the swing. That's the time they should step in, because we can't see everything around us. But as a catcher, as a pitcher, you should have an idea how to call a game. But I want to pick more of your guys' brain. Utah being a catcher, Shane being a pitcher on this pitch calling it, especially at a young age.
Well, I'll defer a question to Shane on this one as a pitching coach. At what age do you think pitchers are capable of throwing more than just one pitch? And then, at what age can you expect them to throw more than one pitch and then throw it in the zone? Doesn't have to be spotted, but at least a fastball changeup, fastball curveball in the zone.
Like something hittable.
Yeah. So I have a couple 10-year-olds who I thought were 12 for the longest period of time. The one kid, he can throw fastball, curveball, changeup, slider accurately with a purpose. And he was like 10 turning 11. I think legitimately for your not like top of the line kids, 12 is probably a good time for fastball changeup, but you can pretty much win with just fastball up until about high school ball.
Well, I guess my question is what is happening out there as far as, because I know 11, 12-year-olds are throwing curveballs. So what I'm saying is, at what point do you think these kids are throwing strikes with multiple pitches? And at least in Florida, what I see is some early bloomers are 11 years old, ripping some, pretty good breaking balls and fastballs. Health conversations aside and stuff like that, right?
Right.
Because how frequently you throw it is a different conversation. But at 12 years old, I've seen plenty of guys out here that can throw more than two pitches and command it, which is actually pretty amazing. So to answer your question, I think the moment your pitchers are able to start throwing more than one pitch and then throw it in the zone, I think as a catcher, you need to start learning how to differentiate the two pitches, right? So, I don't care if you're 11 years old throwing fastball changeups. As a catcher, you probably want to learn when are you calling that changeup, right? So besides that, yeah, sure, you can do location in and out. That's a little bit harder. I think you need to learn what swing tendencies cause what to happen. So that might be more later down the line, when you're in high school, when you're in college, maybe you can see a swing and go, okay, let's shift these guys way over to this side. I don't expect the 11, 12-year-old to be able to do that, but it's a good time to start, I think, is, like I said, when guys can differentiate pitches. In Florida, at least from what I've seen, I think 11, 12-year-old is a good time to start. But that's going to cost you some games down the road, right? It's not going to be all, rainbows and unicorns, like I like to say. But I think it's worth it for a catcher to learn that, lose a few games here and there. If that's the reason why the team lost, I want my catcher to understand that, hey, the pitch calling cost us that game.
Yeah, I trust my catchers in high school. I teach kind of like pitching by the count to a lot of my youth pitchers who are throwing more than one pitch. I don't think I really have any fastball only kids, and that's from 9 to 18. But even still, I teach them to think like a hitter, right? Like 0-2, what's everybody in the park thinking? Spike curveball, right?
Yeah.
So I try to make them throw the opposite of that. Maybe go at the high fastball and then spike curveball. Just be, unorthodox in the way you throw is kind of how I address it. And then with that, a lot of those kids have catchers with them and stuff like that. So as we're giving the catching lesson as well, we kind of work as a catcher pitcher mindset based on the counts, what pitches to call, where to set up and things like that.
Yeah, I think to tandem what you're saying as a pitching coach, I think the place that you can learn so much about how to call pitches or how to think would be a lot of touch and feels and flat grounds and bullpen sessions where, if you're a pitching coach, this is something that I was able to do with my bullpen experience, and I stole every bit of information that I could from every coach and player, right?
Definitely, yeah.
And the thing is, when I understood what they were working on, so for example, something as simple as forcing fastballs up and then 12-6 curveballs down, and put it right down the middle of the plate and then split it north and south, right? For a pitcher to be working on that, and for me to understand that that's a combination of pitches that I can use back to back, like that's valuable, right? A catcher needs to understand that during the bullpen session. So hopefully the catcher is listening to, let's say, Shane talking to his pitcher about, hey, let's throw these combinations, right? Well, why are you throwing those two combinations? Why is it not forcing fastballs up and sliders out? Well, because it doesn't tunnel as well, right? Like if you can explain that to a pitcher, and then a catcher can automatically understand that because he's eavesdropping, then that's a bonus for the catcher. So I think that's an opportunity where a catcher can at least come up with an idea of, okay, sinkers, sliders, great, awesome, let's take it, right? Like I said, four-seam fastball, 12-6, that's great. Like whatever it is, I think that's a great way for a catcher to be exposed to, one, what the pitcher wants to do, and two, what the pitching coach wants the pitcher to do, which is supposed to be the best, best way to go attack guys. Throw your best stuff.
No, I agree. And you know what? One of the things I was mentoring one of my catchers on, because like I said, I let him call the game, and there was a couple games I watched closely, and I realized, he's only calling fastballs in the first inning or the first time through the lineup. So I pulled him, like, why? And he's like, I want them, not thinking my guy's got a curveball, and then I surprised them. And I was like, okay, I see the game plan, but if our pitcher's leaving nothing but fastballs over the plate, they're going to get hit hard. So I taught him about kind of deceiving the hitter, and not just in hey, 2 strikes, throw him a curveball, but one of those, think like a hitter, like what would you be wanting? But at the same time, if you just blew 2 fastballs by this one kid, why throw him a curveball? Because in Little League, do they teach you throw a curveball with 2 strikes? No, like if he's struggling on one pitch, keep attacking. Or, hey, this guy's got a good slider, start it off the plate or middle of the plate to get him to chase, but kind of have an idea and get a feel of what everyone's doing. And, I got to tip the catchers, just tip my cap, because memorizing the swings, the patterns, the efficiency, especially like in the highest school levels where there's not a bunch of guys taking notes, like it's impressive to do, but it's also one of those, what is this guy doing? How's he doing? How'd he get out? And my assistant coach, when he joined the staff, he had the notes on that, so we were able to like really pick these guys apart a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as with the Black Sox, for me, for example, there's been so many hitters that come and go. So I remember the swing and the tendencies, but not the name or the face. Sometimes that happens. So the moment you step up to the plate, I'm like, I know exactly what this guy's gonna do.
Yeah, right.
So it just kind of becomes that way. But I'm glad you at least had that conversation, because the catcher was thinking about what do we want to do to win this game, and then he had an opportunity to make a mistake potentially because he could have gotten hit around, right? Maybe his evaluation was that your pitcher was good enough to go with only fastballs, or maybe he didn't evaluate what the pitcher could do at all. Maybe it was just a thought. But either way, he was able to try something, and then, hey, that didn't work, so let's do something else. But he's at least thinking about what to do, as opposed to, like, coach, what do you want me to call?
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that was fun about battling guys like yourselves was I remember one of the games you were catching against my team. And I had an idea exactly how you guys were trying to set up, especially when you guys got ahead in the count. But I ended up singling off your pitcher because he missed over the plate. And as soon as I hit it, I just heard you go, "Oh, fuck!" Because it was just one of those. We're trying to either bust me really in, or you're trying to get me to chase away because I would just slap the ball. But because he missed his breaking ball middle, you were just like, mother. Like you were pissed because it was a big situation. But it was like, okay, so Utah had his game plan. His pitcher didn't execute.
The Yins was hot. The Yins was
the Yins was hot, dude. I was just gonna say that the Yins was hot.
I was actually talking to Joe Impaduglia, and we were just talking about ball. And one of my buddies is a prospect in the Yankees organization. And, he used to, before he was a Yankee, he was talking about indie ball guys, you're semi-pros, you're not real pros. And then when I started talking trades, transactions, he was like, okay, maybe this guy really did play professional baseball. And the transaction I told Joe and Padugli about was when you paid one of the or you didn't pay the coach, you bought him dinner. You're like, someone take Castro off my team, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, I might have done something like that.
That was the funniest shit I've ever heard of. Like they
Listen,
told us that
it was
story.
great. I didn't want a lukewarm competition. Like we're not there to have. I mean, sure, we're there to have fun in the grand scheme of things, I guess too. But you want to create this like winner go home mentality, and I think some guys were a little too complacent at times,
Yeah.
and like if you look at an interaction that I would have with like McCurdy, like we would go at it, like it would look like we're about to fight, and then after the game, we're literally sitting next to each other hanging out, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's if you want to take it as a job, take it as a job. You don't drag the job out of the office. Like
Mm-hmm.
you go do what you got to do, take care of business, and then once you get out of the white lines, then especially like once you take a shower, like you should have already reset. Like there's no reason
Yeah.
for you to be was still pouting about it or whatever. Like think objectively, move on. Like no reason to cause any friendship, any harm, or any of that. Like compete.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's funny about after playing in the ends because of that environment and that intensity. People are like, "Oh man!" Like now that I'm playing adult league and everything, they're just like, "You're one of the most like laid back competitors." I'm like, "Dude, I did this for a living. I played
Yeah,
my ass."
yeah.
But it's also one of those things where it's just like, when the game's over, like the game's over. Like me being
That's it.
pissed off and like it's not going to change the outcome of the game. Like
Yep.
I was clowning the umpires, like, Blue, you toss me, I'm getting naked. They look at me and I'm like, okay, you got to learn to have a little fun with it at least.
And plus, baseball is one of those sports that you can't react to results.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really hard to react on results. So you have to kind of like dissect. Did I take my A+ swing today? Right? Was I aggressive enough today? Did I at least execute my game plan? Right? Because as a pitcher catcher, you know that we can go have a flawless game plan, execute all of it, and then still come back and lose 3-0 ball game. Like that still happens all the time. So sure, as a head coach or as somebody that's like a leader-esque type person in the organization, like I'd be upset about the wins and losses. But as a player, the only thing you can do to help the team win tomorrow is figure out whatever you didn't do today well and then get better at it for tomorrow. That's the only thing you can do. Now, I'm not saying don't care about winning and losing. I'm just saying you can't react to going, let's say, 0 for 4.
Yeah, of course.
If you took good hacks.
So, Utah, my question for you is, on the field, you've had me as an umpire, as a pitcher. What are, just because a lot of our high school boys watch, we talked about before you got on, like being a leader. So our catchers, especially where I coach, I felt all season were a little complacent in their roles. When I was on the mound and you were catching me, you would walk me through each pitch, like non-verbally even, sometimes verbally. But like what's going on in your head behind the dish when you got a guy, just working the next couple innings?
I mean, it all starts with hopefully you have a chance to catch the guy in the bullpen, right, before you go out. If you're a starter, especially, you can do that. Relievers, you have to just be familiar with them, I guess. But as far as game planning with each guys, one, I got to see what's working for you that day. So if you're a fastball guy, but you don't have the fastball that day, I'm going to figure out what else is working for you, right? So that's definitely one thing. The other thing is, because you touched on leadership and stuff like that a little bit, you kind of have to get an understanding of like, what does the pitcher think about you initially, right? So before a game, let's say if I'm catching a younger guy, like, and if it's with the Black Sox, the stage is pretty much set. It's me taking care of them. I kind of explain the things that I need to do with them, and then hopefully they kind of follow the lead and execute and have a great game.
Which is exactly what you did.
Right. And I think that was your second year with the Black Sox, first year with the Black Sox. So there was, I think, like a non-verbal understanding of like, hey, like I will kind of lead your way, right? There was never a conscious conversation about that. But if let's say when I was with High Point, I couldn't do the same thing, but I still took leadership, right? So you have certain guys that, let's say I caught a college rookie, my first game with High Point, and literally Jamie Keefe came up to me and said, "Hey, like, this is all you, like, lead this kid and get him, get him as far as you can." So my conversation with him was exactly like yours, right? It's like, "Hey, this is how I want you to game plan. This is how I want you to go about it, and let's go." The moment the sixth inning came around, and then it's like, now it's like a AAA guy, and then the seventh, eighth, ninth is all big league, big league, big league, and you basically go up to the mound and go, "Hey, what you want to do?" And they go, "Here's the game plan. This is what I want to throw. This is what I want to strike him out on. And don't worry about the sign with man on second until it happens." Right? And it's like, all right, sweet. I don't argue it, right? I don't get in their way, because those elite guys have game plans already. You just have to figure out what it is, and you just have to not get in their way. That's it.
Yeah, just roll with it.
Roll with it. So if in high school it's tough, but
Yeah.
if you have a guy who knows what he wants to do and he can execute on it, as a catcher, you should probably just let him have it, right? Or if it's a guy that needs help, then as a catcher, you need to push a little bit on that. And if a guy is stubborn, but you can't push on it, but you need to, like, what you do is you just let him shake you off and let him get hit. Sorry, shook off a curveball from 2 strikes. You set him up perfect. You wanted to throw that slider, and it got ripped for a double. You can say you hung it, but you could have thrown this other pitch that you could have potentially buried. If not, it would have been a chopper, right? Now, as a catcher, you have to figure out a way to have that conversation with the pitcher without pissing him off.
Right. Like, hey,
Especially
trust
in
me.
high school. Especially in high school, you have to worry about the ego, right? So a catcher might be like, "Hey, man, I think a curveball would have been better because it's actually, not matching the swing plane." Maybe something like that, right? It depends on the person. But that's how I look at this quote unquote leadership behind the dish is, what do I got to do to have this pitcher perform the best that he can, honestly, so that I look better, so that my day's easier, right?
True.
If I give you an adjustment and you're dotting pitches and I don't have to work, like, thanks for the easy 9. Like, I did my job, I get to keep my job, and then I'm back tomorrow. I'm starting again. Next time you start, you're going to request for me again, execute, and I don't have to work very hard. Like, that's kind of how I look at it.
There you go.
Yeah, and to roll into the next topic, Utah said, what is like teaching hitting? And it's something I was thinking a lot about, and listening to your guys' topic about, catching. A lot of what I teach outside of the mechanics is what's going on up here, your game plan. My big thing, especially with my travel ball team in the high school, I'm like, look, you got to watch the pitcher. Granted, especially travel baseball before high school, not everyone's dotting up pitches. Not everyone's just throwing like these crazy pitches with movement. But I also tell them, look, if you recognize he has a breaking ball and he's never thrown it for a strike, especially in hitters' counts when he needs to throw a strike, better be ready to hit the fastball. And it drives me crazy when my players don't watch the pitcher, because it's like, dude, this guy's giving you the clip notes. We work our hitting, we work our mechanics, and then a kid will swing at a ball in the dirt, come in the dugout after he gets out. "Hey, coach, my swing's off." I'm like, "No, your swing's not off. You swung at a pitch in the dirt. What the hell did you think was going to happen,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
go ahead, Shane.
No, take over.
I think at least the way I did it, I used to have a 16 and under organization, and a lot of our guys were kind of like rising juniors that were still kind of struggling on the JV team and kind of needed to find a way onto the varsity team, and most of it came down to hitting, right? So for me, I think there are certain things that you can teach about the swing. Like if a guy has some like quirky moves or something like that, you want to make sure you clean that up a little bit, I guess. But ultimately teaching them what it is to time pitches is a big thing that I think is missed quite a bit. People talk about like be on time all the time, but like, what is it to be on time? Again, use the words, right? Like if you ask your kid, what does it mean to be on time? I bet you a lot of them would struggle to explain exactly what it is for them to be on time, right? They might be able to tell you like, oh, I just want to have my foot down early. What the hell does that mean, right? Like when, like, do you have your foot down? Like a question that I ask my guys all the time is like, do you have your foot down? Sorry, where do you have your foot at the pitcher's release? Like where do you, and most guys will be, well, not most guys, I guess there's guys that are taught now, but a lot of guys that would say, they would either be like, I want to have my foot down by the time the pitcher releases the ball, or whatever, like something along those lines. And if you look at big league games with guys throwing 100 miles an hour, everybody's at the peak of their, whether it's a leg kick or some sort of a load mechanism, they're at the peak at release, and then the foot comes down and then the swing goes, right? So the timing is a big portion that is missed. And then, yeah, like approach is great, but the pitchers have to be able to repeat pitches to have a really good approach.
Mm-hmm.
If they got no game plans, or if they can't execute on pitches, then what's the point of having an approach, right? So, ironically enough, playing against one of the teams from Japan with the Black Sox years ago was really fun and actually kind of easy, because guys would have, in a certain situation, when the guy's supposed to throw up and in, the pitch will be up and in. But when the situation comes where it's supposed to be down and away, that guy's not missing arm side up. Like that guy's executing low and away. So if I knew and I was cheating that way, I could step across the plate and go that way, and I knew that the guy wasn't going to miss at my face.
Yeah. No, I mean, with hitting too, it's a lot of cheating and everything, especially because the key things is like I said, hitters, and especially their parents, the ones that live vicariously through their kid, they'll go 0 for 3 in a game, and the first question they ask me as a hitting coach, my son's swing is messed up. What does he need to do to fix it? And the first 2 questions I ask my players is, one, did you swing at strikes? That's the most important one. And the other, were you on time? Like, how was your timing? And I was like, if you answer no to swinging at strikes and know that you weren't on time, we cannot blame the swing. But if you say, yes, I was on time, and yes, I swung at strikes, and you hit like shit, we might need to fix something. And that right there just kind of gets the boys a little bit more in check, because, this game's tough, especially the higher the level, the defense gets better, the pitching gets better.
What is the age group of that kid you're talking about?
So this is my 14U team.
14U team?
Yeah, but I coach a lot of kids that aren't on my team, like, just in privates. And when their kids go over, they hit the panic button very quickly. Like, oh, man, my son's 0 for 3. Like, he needs to fix his swing. I noticed he was doing a leg kick. Let's make him not do a leg kick. And it's like, hold on. Why are we panicking after one bad game?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it depends on, I guess, the region of the country too. But like, if the pitchers are polished, then you need to have a really, really good game plan and approach. I think 15 years ago when I was, I guess a little bit more than that, 15, 20 years ago when I was in that travel ball circuit and stuff like that, you had a lot of crafty pitchers, as they used to call them, right? And so those guys knew how to pitch. I think that's one of the things that like make you, Shane, very dangerous, is you can go up there and then do a lot of different things and put a lot of different shapes on pitches, and then have an idea of what you want to do with them, right? So you don't have as many of those guys. Like, nobody takes pride in being a crafty pitcher until they're in college, potentially. High school guys all seem to be, they want to be this like sexy, hard throwing, 87 mile an hour hard throwing stock righty or whatever it is.
They touch 90 one time, and all of a sudden they sit 90.
And you know what? Good for them for sitting 90. But if your average velocity that you're going to see in high school is, let's say, 88 to 90, and you're just at the average, like, you're going to get hit. So, once those guys come around, yes, you need to absolutely have the game plan. So maybe in college, right? Like, that's absolutely necessary, because whether the coach is calling the pitches or the kid's calling the pitches, like whatever, there's definitely a game plan. There's definitely analytics. The higher the college level goes, the more analytics there is. So you need to have those. But if you're playing, a lot of like travel ball, like random tournaments or whatever, like guys are maybe trying to just blow fastballs by you. So you just need to be on time.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on what level you're at. But the question is, I guess, like, when do you start teaching the approach? And then when do you start teaching? Like, when do you focus on the mechanics? When do you focus on, the intent, and then when do you start focusing on the approach? Like, I think that's kind of where my mind was at when I brought that question up initially, is because I think there is a time and place for a swing coach.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then there is a time and place for a field hitting coach, a third base coach, if you will. Right. Because that's the guy that's going to give you the approach and a game plan, whatever.
Right.
And then anything in between. So like, there's different ways to approach it. There's different phases to go about it.
All right. You got another question, Tommy?
No. That's good stuff, and especially too because a lot of these kids they overthink the little things. But what's up, Shane?
I want to ask Utah about that umpire situation.
What's up? What
Wait,
umpires?
well, listen, I'll tell you. But go ahead. What were you saying about little kids?
Oh no, I was just gonna say like they overthink the little things, and it's our job as coaches to just kind of like, look, we've been there, we've done it, and this is how I'd go about it, looking back at it to be the most successful. Every kid's different, but now I really want to hear about this umpire situation.
Well, dude, the one from Instagram.
One from Instagram.
Yeah, the second and third.
Oh,
Yeah. All right.
post.
What
You
was
guys gonna
that?
have to tell me about this.
Okay.
Remind
All
me
right.
about.
So you're the umpire, right?
Uh-huh.
Second and third, one out.
Okay.
Fly ball to center field. Runner on third. Center field catches it. 2 outs. Runner on third tags and goes home.
Uh-huh.
Runner on second never comes close to tagging up. Just takes right off.
Okay.
So both runs cross the plate. The ball comes into the infield. They tag out at second.
Uh-huh.
Double play. Does the first run score?
Does the first run score? Because the first run came in on a tag.
Yeah.
When did this happen? When did this?
So
I don't know. He
okay.
crossed the plate before the tag out at second was made for not tagging up.
Well, I would imagine the answer would be no, the run doesn't count, because that would be the same thing as, let's say there's bases loaded, 1 out, right? And then as you're turning the double play, like let's say 6-4-3, the first base runner or the batter runner trips. So it takes 45 seconds for them to turn the double play, and then the runners touched home plate for a while by that time. Right?
So I'll tell you, you're absolutely correct in that situation. And now that is correct because the bases are loaded, so the runners are forced.
Okay.
Inherently forced. With this situation being second and third, nobody is forced to do anything. When the center fielder catches the ball, the runner on second can stand on that bag. He can tag up. He can try to force a throw, get in a rundown, run back to first base, or lay down on the ground and make a snow angel. But there is nobody behind him forcing him to run, right? So that would equate to first and third, 1 out, pitches thrown, strike 3 swinging, catcher throws down to second, kid gets in a rundown, runner from third scores, tag out. Right? Because nobody is forcing the runner to go from first to second.
Makes sense.
So we had to get in the comment section on that and really tear some things up.
And
I
to
mean,
give
that
you guys
makes sense though. The whole force situation, like.
Yeah, to give you a little bit of background context, there's one of the local travel ball teams in my area. They lost, I think, a championship game because of that call, and they were livid. Like, because the 2 runs scored, especially
Did they call it correctly?
So they did. They called the kid out at second.
Okay.
And the game ended. But I guess what the situation was the runner on third was the tying run, and the runner on second was the winning run. And before they threw the guy out at second, both runs did score. So that combat team was dogpiling like they won the championship. But the umpire does some little 1-2 and then calls an out, and he says game over. The other team won. So all the parents from combat posted about this, And then I've given a handful of lessons to kids in the combat
I might have
organization.
seen this video, honestly,
Yeah,
online.
dude, they're
Yeah,
tagging
the
me,
run
asking me
scores
what the
tie
game
game.
is. And the only reason I made my opinion on no, the game's over, is because I like typed it in on Google, like what's the call? AI answers and say, no, it's a force out. And I was like, and then I was just like, no, I think it's a force out. So I just said, Shane, answer the question. You're an umpire.
That's why you can't replace umpires with AI, baby,
Nope.
because AI is wrong.
AI
I
was wrong.
I would have thought maybe something along the lines of like if the if it was a tag play and then you're appealing it after the play's over, the run already scores or something like that. But
Yes.
that's not the case.
I'm never losing an argument again. I'm smarter than AI.
I mean, you're Doc. You are Doc. So
that is true. That is very,
you're a very
yeah.
dangerous man with your brain.
It was one of those things too, where it was like, you want what's best for the kids, but I was just like, dude, I thought like the runner on second, because he didn't tag, it's a force out technically, but when Shane broke it down with the whole, no one's forcing him to go anywhere, it got me to start thinking about it a little differently.
Something tells me that the real answer still wouldn't please half of the people out there, anyways.
Yeah, someone's gonna be pissed off.
Yeah, I think that's one of those situations where even the umpires probably like, I've never had that situation happen in my life, but you got to be prepared for anything, right? How many times have you had a situation where you've never seen it happen and it happens in your game, right? So,
Dude, I've umpired thousands of games, played in even more, and there's still times I walk in the field and I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Well, that's what was funny too. Instead of watching the actual play that was controversial, I was watching the runner on second, thinking in my head, what the hell was he doing?
no tag, huh?
Yeah, I was like, dude.
They didn't even come close. He just took off.
Yeah, it was one of those things too, like as a coach, and that's one thing that took me a second to get used to, coaching kids that were not in college or professional baseball. You had to remind them every play, 1 out, 2 outs, and like I remember there was one time, like I think it was first pitch of the inning. I was like, okay, hey, like we got 1 down, right? And I didn't say anything, and the kid ran on the line drive. I'm like, bruh, and he's just like, I don't know how many outs there were, and like the guy that was mentoring me at the time was like, you got to remind them every pitch. And I'm like, are you fucking serious right now? But like, some of these kids are a little bit clueless when it comes to their savvy.
I think it's kind of like catchers not knowing how to call pitches. Is these conversations are not being had with players. Like, I remember having coaches that would explain these to us, as a youth baseball player. Like, they would teach us how to do it. And remember, I started learning in Japan first, and they're a lot more intense and a lot more detailed at a younger age than you guys are over here. So, I think there's a lot of volunteer coaches out there that are now, or not, I guess not volunteer coaches, but like, I think there are people that are running travel ball or coaching travel ball that aren't really, they're passionate about baseball, but they didn't really learn a lot about it. Right. So they're just out there and helping out, I guess. But those guys become head coaches because there's not enough coaches out there. There's too many teams. Every team's got, 6 teams per age group or whatever. And there's no way you can staff all of those teams with proper people. Right. So
exactly. Yeah.
if those guys are being taught, then your guys' lives would be a lot easier at the high school and college level.
Well, that's one thing that I make a requirement for Roddy's baseball is there is a coach in my staff that, he knows baseball. He's a good coach. He knows how to get the best out of the players, but he still needs to learn basics about the game. And I make it a
younger coach.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little older than me, but like his playing career wasn't as polished because he had to have a back surgery when he was 15, and he just, got into coaching. Loves the game, has passion for it, but it's like one of those things where, hey, I like your passion, I like your fire, and I like that you have a winning mentality. But for a year or two, not like stay under me. Like, he runs his own team in my organization, but I teach him specifics about this is what we're going to do with our player development. And he's learned a lot and come a long way because he's had that combination of the little league and travel ball mentality where, oh, I have a catcher, he's not very good. Let's find a better catcher and cut him. And I'm like, no, the purpose of our team is, hey, let's get this kid from he's average to, okay, he's actually pretty good. And like, he's developing his skills. So it's like, and that's what travel ball is nowadays with these volunteers. It's like, oh man, I don't have a great player. Let's find a better player and let's find a way to kick him off the team,
Because what's the point of travel ball now?
Win a trophy.
That's it, right? So
Win a trophy and make some money.
when I
Yep.
ran, it was only for 3 seasons, but when I ran my teams, I would do only 3 tournaments. Every organization was offering like 8 tournaments each season or whatever it was. I would do 3. One would be a warm up tournament, and 2 would be a legit one. My light keeps going off. And then all the other weekends would be literally like split squad double headers against each other. They were sophomores and juniors in high school. I'll bring like seniors in high school and just come pitch for 3 innings against our guys and just mow them down. Like literally just mow them down, right? And I would let everybody know, hey, here's how many at bats you guys got in the first 6 weeks of our season before we went to the first tournament. And they were shocked because everybody had way more at bats than any of the other buddies that's played in these tournaments. They've already played in 4 tournaments by the time we're just getting started, right? But what? The time runs out, so they play for 5-6 innings and the game's over. Like, and some teams are hitting more than 9, like ridiculous, right? So
That's
True.
kind of
One at bat a game.
what's the
that's
point
kind of
of
the
even
direction.
doing that?
That's kind of the direction I'm going with Roddy's baseball right now. So we're trying to sign up for the rec league, which a few parents are like, we're signing up for. I'm like, look, we're still going to play our tournaments, and that's going to be for our more top tier players. But for our bottom tier players that maybe won't see as much playing time in the tournaments, we're going to have our team register for the local little league, so those kids can get reps, and now they could get their opportunity to try out for catcher or shortstop or first base or center field if they don't get an opportunity to play with our real team. It's all about the at bats. And a lot of the families are very more like, oh, hey, my kids are going to get 50, 60 at bats. And I told them at the 13, 14-year-old age group, like it's very rare you see kids throwing 90. It's very rare you see kids just hitting absolute tanks. Just because you're playing in a PG or an NCS tournament doesn't mean you're going to see it. And I told them, and I think it stuck out when I joined Black Sox baseball. I remember playing in the winter league. I hit 446, something stupid like that. Didn't get signed, and I'm thinking, fuck. I put up all these numbers. I dominated. What do you mean I'm not getting signed? Until
I've never hit 446 ever.
yeah.
So
Well, and then Joe Torre told me it wasn't because your numbers were great, but did you throw 90? Did you run fast? Did you hit balls to straightaway center for home runs? And when I said no to all those, he's like, why would they sign you to that next level? And now I'm like, okay, so it doesn't matter who you play, put good numbers up against. It's all about your physical tools. And that's one thing that pro ball taught me. And that's why I structured my Roddy's baseball the way I am, because it's like, okay, hey, I don't care if we win an NCS or a PG tournament, but if my shortstop on my Roddy's team can make that Jeter play and throw an absolute missile in high school, I did my job as a coach. Or the less than 2-0 pop time for my catchers.
yeah, I think that's why I did my inner squads and I did my scrimmages, because somewhere along the lines that the trophies just no longer needed to be the thing, right? Like look, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, like go ahead, like go enjoy yourself and like go get your bling or whatever. But once you're getting ready for high school ball, like there's no reason to worry about that. Like, or you might, the hard truth of it is you might play JV baseball until your junior year and your high school might not even allow it to happen.
Yeah.
So
Agreed, dude. We would have people bitch that they would make the JV team, but they played travel ball. They would go to travel ball practices over high school stuff.
Yeah.
And then, we would never see them. And then they were like, well, why am I in JV? Like, dude, I don't even know who you are.
Well, that was the first thing
yeah,
I told the JV team I coached. I was like, half my team was sophomores, half my team was juniors. And I said, point blank, because the only reason my team was that old, we had 15, 16 seniors on the varsity team, and the coach wasn't going to cut any of them. So, first meeting of the year, I said, okay, who's pissed off they're on JV? Every player raised their hand. I said, good. I was like, if you don't think you should be on JV and you should be on varsity, we should go undefeated this year. And they looked at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, look, if you're a varsity caliber player, you should dominate. If we don't kick every team's ass and we don't dominate numbers statistically and also throwing harder and running faster than these teams, you guys are JV players. But if you guys dominate your competition, everyone in the world will be like, okay, this isn't a JV team. This is a varsity team with too many seniors on their varsity team. And that's the mentality that the boys had. And there was a little bit difference of a hunger when it came to it, because now these kids have a chip on their shoulder and they have to prove something to themselves.
I would have let them play a few games throughout the season. Just give them a few dates. Go, listen, like, be pissed off all you want. Like,
Yeah.
hey, here's a bye week or here's a bye day. It's gonna be JV against varsity. If you guys think you're that good, you get a chance to play there. Or like at the end of the season, you let them have it one more time. Like, you guys want to prove it for next year before they graduate? Like, go ahead, like, duke it out.
So you know what's funny is we actually did duke it out with varsity before the season even started,
That's
and my
sweet.
JV team won.
That's
Which,
sweet.
but guess what? We weren't allowed to scrimmage varsity ever again. That coach was like, nope, nope. Like, and I remember it was a combination of my boys because they didn't hit the number 1 and 2 pitchers on the varsity team. They hit like the middle guys, but they're like, oh, you hit the middle guys. I'm like, still varsity pitchers. And not only did they hit them well, I was picking on the outfielders. I was like, you know what? Let me see if this guy could throw a guy out. Like, it reminded me of when we played in Florida where Joe would purposely send guys 2-3 bags to see if the guys could throw them out.
Yeah.
Dude, those varsity guys were sailing the cutoff guy, overthrowing
That's
the
it.
catcher, and we ended up winning 5-0. My player's like, dude, we just smacked the shit out of varsity.
If they wanted to win so bad, then they could have played their best guys or whatever. There's no excuses at that point.
No,
Because
there never is.
somewhere along the lines, they needed to know that the tides were turning.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I'll say this. Had we played that varsity team with the number 1 pitcher, would we have put up 5? I don't think so. I think we would have put up maybe 1 or 2. But at the end of the day, whether it was their top pitcher or their worst pitcher, they still didn't put up a run against us. And we pitched our bottom of the barrel guys too.
I mean, that's the kind of the competition that needs to be out there. Again, rather than going for trophies, I think you play games like that, then it becomes about, actually helping the team win. Because imagine being in a situation where, if you don't make this diving play, this winning run's going to score, and then you, the JV team, you're going to lose the game after leading the game the whole time against varsity.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, that's a lesson a kid can learn. And I can appreciate that kind of an opportunity, whether the kid makes the play or not. Because if he doesn't make the play and then it hurts him, then it's going to actually make him better, right? So,
agreed.
Don't really care either way it goes, but you got to give them the opportunity to get into a situation like that where it matters to them.
I agree. Oh man, it actually is funny too because a lot of players, and I wonder if you guys hear this in your neck of the woods, they bitch and complain, oh, this pitcher's throwing too slow. How can we hit him? And it's like, swing it a strike. I like, it's one of those things where it's like, you're complaining that he's throwing too slow. Like, there's that competitive edge. Like, I remember facing Reitz or a freaking Podkle or even Mac Miller. And then you go face a men's league guy just because Joe wanted to give us 5 more at bats. And the guys are throwing balls with a hump on it. And you're just like, okay, I can't let this guy get me out because he's not a professional. The guy's got a beer belly. And like, this guy owns me. I'm getting released. And it got me to, I swear to God, in those men's league games, I took that take till I get 2 strikes approach like crazy. And dude, they would always, I'd go 0-2 sometimes. Then they'd serve me that fastball down the middle for some odd reason. And I was like, oh, I got this.
I mean, I don't even really understand the whole like guys throwing too slow thing anyways, because everybody hits front toss. Everybody hits, everybody hits a stationary ball and they have no problems like hitting off the tee, right? Front toss, soft toss, whatever it may be. That ball is not traveling very fast. So I just think, again, people don't understand when it comes to this particular conversation that people don't understand what timing is, right? And they just think they know. And once it gets hard, they just say, oh, well, it's because the pitch is too slow. Well, if the pitch is slow, then you need to adjust your timing. And hopefully you're not adjusting your swing, right? Because if you're adjusting your swing to a slower pitch, it's probably going to be a bad result for you.
Well, it's also a combination, too, of because I used to piss and complain about it when I was younger, but I realized why. It wasn't so much because I couldn't make the adjustment, but sometimes when you're seeing a guy throwing like 90s and there's scouts in the stands, you get that adrenaline, you get those butterflies, and you're pumped, you're locked in. And then when you see the guy throwing 70 against a school that you should basically walk all over, half the brain of a high school teenager is like, okay, we got this. And the next thing you know, it's the 7th inning and you're 0 for 4 and you're like, oh, shit.
It's definitely the mindset thing. That's why a conversation, a hitting coach is super important because you're basically giving them the right mindset before a game. It's like, all right, guys, like I've told my guys, like, hey, tee off on this guy. Like, go enjoy yourself. Go hit me some doubles and homers. maybe they've never heard their coach say that, right? And then obviously you don't want them to get out of control with their swings, but I mean that with an intent, from an intent point of view, and then from, just being aggressive in general, like, standpoint, like, do your thing, like, and it's been very successful with certain guys and maybe not with some others.
I mean, shit, I do have a home run sign I give my play. I literally touch my wrist, go like this, and I'm just like, and hit it out. And they're like,
They probably love it when they get it, right? So,
oh, yeah. They get all surprised, too, because some of these coaches teach, oh, just get on base. I'm like, dude, you're an 8th grader and you're my size. Quit trying to get on base. Get on second, get on third. Use that non-existent speed to get on third because you hit it so far over the guy's head.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, especially 13, 14, you hit it over one of those guys' head, like, it's not coming back for a while.
Yeah, no one's got speed like Shane Clunan, right?
Hey, man, I got a couple stolen bases this year.
Oh, I was dude, I was interviewing you in the middle of a game.
That's true. I did almost go into pinch run. I am 100% stolen bases this year. I have like 9 or 10 already.
Didn't you get hurt during that tournament I played with you because you stole a base? I think it was Memorial Day weekend last year.
No.
Or maybe it was down in Florida. I don't know. You were hurting.
It was Florida. Florida, I messed my back up like the second day I was there.
And it was like sliding into home or something.
No, that was in Pittsburgh. I dislocated my left shoulder.
Oh, Jesus.
I was safe. I tagged up from third. That was last year, yeah. That was early last year.
You best stay on the mound, Doc.
You're too valuable.
It's safe up there on the hills, I hear.
Dude, I caught 7 the other day. I've been playing a lot of first base. I love it.
7? What a savage.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Catching's been my favorite position forever.
You know what? Catching is people ask me, like, hey, where do you want to play? Like, if I ever go play men's league with them, and I'm like, just catch me. If the guy throwing strikes, just catch me, because I'd rather, God forbid, they stick me in left field because they have all their infielders or something, and we're on the first base side. Like, that run is very long, my man. It's gonna take me a while to get out there. So just put me behind the dish. It's the same distance everywhere you go. I just get to sit down, and then, lately it's one knee down at all times, right? So it's just like, as long as you can throw strikes, perfect.
Yeah, man. Are you heading up to New York? Or are you in Oneonta right now?
No. I'm here in Florida. I'm actually about to go to Denver tomorrow to go hang out with my brother for the weekend. So,
nice.
Be playing some golf out there.
Nice.
Launching golf balls the distance I wish I could launch baseballs, but.
Now, before we end this podcast, I do gotta ask: have you guys been paying attention to like Joe's stories and posts?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just saw Joe last week or 2 weeks ago.
He's talking about the Kenosha Kings and the New Jersey team. Who's winning that game?
Jersey.
I think also Jersey, and I think that there's more talent on Kenosha.
Yeah.
I think, but the Jersey team will probably be better managed, and they'll play better as a team.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean,
no, I agree.
AJ's not going to let that game happen. He's not going to just fold and let them lose that game like that. No way.
Well,
so he's
it's funny because so I have Joe on two of my accounts. I've got him on my main Tommy Blood account and my T Blood School of Hitting account. So I had everything muted, and I saw who wins, Jersey or Kenosha. And with Tommy Blood account, I just put Kenosha because they're a little more talented. But then when I opened up on T Blood School of Hitting, I did the whole "Hey Yo" thing on my live, and they were like, "That's the reference." And then when Joe's page popped up, I showed all my friends. I was like, "Hey, this is the guy I'm mimicking." And then he starts talking about how the Kenosha players don't want to play on 4th of July, and I'm sitting there like, "Oh, I might have picked the wrong team, so I voted for New Jersey."
Why not? Why do they not want to play on 4th of July? Like, that's
he says,
it's like a dream.
one thing that's killing a lot of players now is they don't want to play in the summer. They don't want to play extra games. He's like, Kenosha will play their scheduled games, they won't add extra ones, and then New Jersey, they'll just keep playing.
I mean, hopefully you're trying to play indie ball because you love playing baseball. Like, hopefully you're not doing it because you want to make money or whatever. Like,
yeah,
that's a tough way to go about things. And and you're going to be in for a rude awakening unless you're contracted for years and extension and this and that, and maybe they're taking care of you a little bit better than everybody else or something like that. But
Dude,
I can't imagine anybody actually living a comfortable life, just getting the income from indie ball.
in my opinion, if
Dude,
you're
I
gonna
would play 14 games a week in any city or state if I
Yep.
had housing.
same here, and
Yeah.
I think to have a comfortable living in indie ball, especially with social media nowadays, you gotta like have a presence on social media. Like there's a kid I've been coaching. He's got like 33,000 followers. His mom was telling me that like he can charge these brands like $1,000 a post. And I'm sitting there like, bruh.
Yeah.
I need to get on that level, man.
Yeah, if only I was good enough to actually draw that much attention, and then
Now, dude, that's where I think miking up Yinzer players and stuff would be because, dude, there
I
was
think that'd be fun.
dude. I mean, remember that day we were playing we were supposed to play Brilliance, and we were in the locker room, and you said, "Who would win the Yinzer spelling bee?" And everyone was like, "Crap, who would win that competition?" And then the other one was, "Okay, now who would be the first one to lose?" And that's where everybody went nuts.
Oh yeah. Listen, you gotta have fun with it, right? Like you have to know each other well enough to be able to answer some of those questions. If you don't know each other, you wouldn't be able to have fun with that at all.
I felt bad.
That's right.
I think Liguri was the first one to like. Oh, Liguri's
Oh
gonna lose.
my god. That's all you guys. That wasn't me.
I didn't vote Liguri, but I think he got the most votes.
Oh man, I don't remember who we said would have won.
I mean, we said Will Musser.
I don't know. I think if I know myself well enough, I probably said Doc. Doc would have won that whole thing.
Doc,
The kid can spell,
academia
man.
thing, you're winning that.
My favorite words: phylloxenoxahillophilipication.
Oh boy,
And
You,
you know how to
spell
spell
that
it, too.
shit. You spell that shit.
maybe Doc. I remember one guy said blood. I said, "Have you lost your damn mind?"
Why, for Doc?
No. One person said, "I'm voting for blood to win it."
Oh,
like,
for you? Yeah.
I was like, "Are you?" I straight up was like, "Are you crazy? You just lost that bet. I'm gonna mess up an easy word."
You seem like an incredibly book smart guy. I feel like you can read a book and just like know everything about it at one time. Like that's kind of the vibe you give me.
Me or Doc?
You.
That's if I read a book.
I don't even read it. I just know it's in it, baby.
I think like people that are full of characteristics such as individuals such as yourself, Tommy, and that can lock in the box. Like I think there's a correlation to it. Like I've known some cats that are very interesting, like outside of the batter's box, but then when they get in, they're almost kind of boring because they're just like a normal like hardcore baseball player that just locks in, right? Like there's that switch that turns on. So
I swear to God, I feel like my baseball player, me, and like my outside the game, they're two totally different personalities. It's awesome because when I was coaching my high school team, I ran into my old physics teacher, which, by the way, couldn't pay attention in her class. And then next thing you know, she's asking me questions about like what I was doing, and I was like, I actually used some of your lessons. And she's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, she's like, "How?" She's like, "I remember you would rattle stats or what pitchers would throw what, but you couldn't remember 3 basic laws." I'm like, "Miss Letterman, I love you, but like I couldn't lock in." But when it's
I use launch angles now, that's physics.
yeah, I was like, "I use launch angles," and she's like, "No, it's awesome, you're using it, but how could I have gotten you to lock in as a student?" I'm like, there was no saving teenage me. I only wanted to play baseball and date girls back then.
I believe that.
Isn't that still now?
Girls drive me crazy. I play it cool.
Wait, you're Southern California?
Southern California, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
so you're having a good time out there.
Shoot, Joe did tell everybody if you want to find free housing, go to Blood so he can introduce you to college girls.
Yep. Oh my God. Well, I guess the Black Sox guys basically are all college age at this point.
Yeah, dude, they're younger than I am, and I was the youngest one by a long shot.
And it wasn't that long ago. It was only like 2-3 years ago that you were the
3
youngest
years
one
ago,
by a long
yeah.
shot. Yeah.
Feels like forever. I definitely need to make a trip to Florida though, because that spring training was probably the most fun baseball I had outside of the Yins.
It was a grind, huh?
It was a grind, but it was just I don't know. There was just something about being at those Santa Lucia's fields all day that was just so like satisfying.
I don't know, dude. It's hot as shit down there.
No, it totally
I
was.
will be down for quite a while this year, but it's so hot.
I mean, as a pitcher though, like you should go out there at like freaking 6:30, 7 a.m. Like this is what like spring training was, right? Like it was like you go out there 6:30, 7 o'clock, you do your touch and feel, and then whatever. By the time it gets hot, like you're in the gym already, you're in the AC, and then
Mhm.
you're done, right? So a lot of guys were home by like 10 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and then God forbid they had a later day game, like if they had like a 1 o'clock game, they're kind of be stuck there. But like
hmm
still,
No,
if
it
it was
was.
just practice, it was early, early.
Yeah, I enjoyed those practices, those mornings. Like it was, I enjoyed it.
Agreed.
Yeah. But anyway, man, final thoughts for either of you guys?
Hey, well, I appreciate you guys having me here, and I've been enjoying your guys' videos. That's why I wanted to chime in and give you those topics. So,
Absolutely.
Well, thank
keep
you,
doing your
man.
keep doing your thing, and then keep bringing up some interesting topics because I think you can go down certain rabbit holes that'll never end with baseball, right?
Oh, agreed. I actually want to get more Yins guys like Carson Lee and everything just because everyone's got something to say. And, I'm curious on his point of view because he posts some good stuff. But then you
Yeah.
get the fucking dipshits that think they know baseball that probably played JV baseball for 1 year. And you're like, oh, boy. Like, guys like us who played, we're just like, oh, this guy clearly, like, that's commenting. It's like, what are you doing, man?
You know what? I know it's a little bit frustrating to see that sometimes, but people challenge the way I coach sometimes, and I don't fight it. Like I just let them be because it's like, hey, like you think great. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't. If you want to try to steal my client, like go ahead and try to steal my client. Have a conversation with my client about what you teach because if I'm doing my job, I'll let them pick who they want to go with, right? So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where, leave those comments. Thanks for the engagements, like great.
Yeah.
But I think the guys that know Carson, for example, like they'll listen to him and they understand that he comes from, experience, right?
Oh,
So
totally.
like
Yeah.
who do you want to listen to at the end of the day? Kind of attitude is what I've got with those guys.
It's more reading those comments. You kind of laugh. You're just like, oh boy, this
Yeah.
guy is not in his. He is way out of his league.
Like you don't know where like what they've done, but it's honestly like, hey, I'm glad I'm not that guy, right?
Right. Oh man, what time is it out there for you guys?
11:30.
Ooh, yeah,
That sounds like Shane's bedtime.
Yeah, no, I work in the morning.
all
Yeah,
right.
I also got to go to work in the morning, unfortunately.
Same here. So I think it's good to sign off. And dude, Utah, it was great catching up with you again, man. You made it. You remind me of like the old days, man.
Hey man, I appreciate you guys having me, man. So hopefully you make it down to Florida. I guess both of you guys gonna make it down to Florida at some point, and we'll chop it up on the baseball field.
That's the goal, man.
That's the idea, brother.
Sounds
Anyway,
great.
good night, fellas. Signing out on the Hot Corner Rant. Shane, final thoughts.
Go Buccos, man. The Pirates will be 5 games out of 500 or 5 games out of first place by the All-Star break. Buck the Mets. Let's go Buccos.
Good
Skeens
old
is the
Pittsburgh.
man. Go Pitt.
Not Wild Things. Go Wild Things.
Well, they're in first place too, but that's
There
good
you
old
go.
Cole Bayless doing his thing.
There you
Cole
go.
Bon Bayless, legend, man.
Bring him on one time.
Dude, I need to get a hold of that guy.
Well, dude, he lives like 5 minutes from me now
Oh shit.
because
Perfect.
because Washington's right here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know what? Yeah, we got to get a crew on with the Black Sox on here. That would be awesome.
That'd be wild.
Yeah. But anyway,
All right, boys.
all right. Good night, fellas.
Later, fellas.
Peace.